She's rising up, heart full of grace. With every step, she's paving the way. Through every storm, she finds a light. With faith in her soul, she's ready to fight. From the pain, she finds a power, turning trials into golden hours. Challenges don't stand a chance. She's on a mission, taking a stand. Empower her to succeed. Fuel her fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. And this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. She's a doer too, breaking ceilings, breaking through. With every voice that lifts her name, together we rise, we shift the game. She's more than enough, she's made to rise above. When the world says no, she answers with love. Every breath she takes, a transformative story is what we make. Well, this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. With Kereisia and Shanea, hear her rise. This is where challenges meet purpose and dreams touch the skies. Empower her to succeed. Empower her to succeed. Fuel the fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes, a transform. To succeed.
Welcome to everyone who has tuned into the Empower Her to Succeed talk show. We are so excited to be on tonight again. We have a lovely topic that we're going to be discussing. I am your host, Kereisia Brown-Lyesam, and with me tonight co-hosting is Miss Shanea Johnson.
Good
Miss
night.
Night, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Kereisia. How are you doing?
I am fine. I am okay. I'm excited, to hear from our guests. This is a topic that a lot of parents really don't know how to handle. And so I'm happy that we have an expert tonight in the area of understanding children that have special needs. I'm
Definitely.
okay. I am on the holiday. I have a lot of things to do, but
Enjoying the time off.
yes, yes, yes. There's always something to do, and
Yeah.
I am just grateful for the time. What about you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Good well, I'm not on holiday, but I took 2 days off from work. So that has been good. That has been really good. Had a little time, spending a little time with mother and
Oh,
so on,
great,
family.
great.
So
Yes.
good, you know. Sometimes we really don't know what we're missing out on until we actually get to experience certain things, and then we realize the value in family
Yes,
and relationship.
yes.
So yeah,
It's very important when we can spend time with our families.
definitely.
My grandmother who grew me 3 years ago, she passed, and for my holidays, I'm by her house, and it just bring back some form of memory.
Yeah,
Having grown with that stalwart, that woman who was a powerhouse to me, and it brings back some form of memory. I might not have been a special need child, but growing up, it's never easy to grow children, and especially when they would have grown their children and to grow grandchildren. They're tired and they want to relax, just like myself and you. But I'm so
yeah,
happy to have everyone tuning in from Facebook, YouTube. Thank you again, especially those that are always on. We thank you so much for sharing the mission of Empower Her to Succeed. This is a mission that myself and Miss Johnson, we set out as God's women, bold, beautiful, and successful, using our talents, our expertise area to empower women so that you can be successful, because all of us can be successful, right?
definitely,
Yes, all
definitely.
of us have a purpose, don't it, Miss Johnson? You want to say something
Yes.
about purpose
Yeah,
and
man.
women?
Yes, all of us, as you said earlier, we have a purpose, and as strong women that we are, we need to walk in our God-given purpose, because we're not just here on this earth to multiply only, or to, beautify the earth or whatever we do, but we're here to live out our purpose. And some of us, our purpose is to empower others. Some of us, our purpose is to nurture children, to nurture those around us too, to take care of them. Some of us, our purpose is to lead as women. And, I just want to encourage those who are online, those who are listening, watching, to remember that you are a strong woman. God created you as a purpose filled person, and He wants you to accomplish your purpose before your time on earth expires. Because, yes, we do know that eventually one day, you know, we will all pass through this earth. But let us
Yes.
continue to do the work that He has sent us to do, and to empower those who are around us.
That is so true. As you said, we are just passing through. Last week, when I
Yeah.
was motivating the ladies, instantaneously the Lord placed in my spirit that He has given us a one-way ticket on earth.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
one-way ticket would have given you access through the gates of the womb. Because many children never, or many fetus, never live beyond the womb. And
Yes.
because you're given that one-way ticket on earth, you're here for a purpose, and it doesn't even matter if you are we would maybe classify, and I don't want to stereotype here. It doesn't matter how you look, who you are, whether you're classified as a special need or you have a purpose, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
once you sojourn on this earth and you would have, share your purpose or give a solution to whatever God has, purpose you to become or to be, then of course you're going to leave. I hope
Definitely.
you really want to leave. So
Definitely.
tonight we have our guest on, and she will be talking to us about a powerful topic, strategies on how to strategies on how to nurture and care for sorry nurture and care for children with special needs. And Miss Shanea will give you a background about Miss Vanesia Bowden. We want to really thank her, for allowing the Lord to really use her in this area. Because, in truth and in fact, sometimes people who are classified in this area, or children who are classified in this area, are really left behind. So we really want to thank her for being obedient. All right.
Yes, indeed. So go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, miss.
Okay. So, Miss Vanesia Bowden, she's the Caribbean's first disability inclusive pharmacist, special needs parenting coach, neurodiversity strategist, and entrepreneur. Vanesia is a passionate, faith fueled advocate for families navigating neurodivergent, that is autism, ADHD, dyslexia, etc., disability, and special needs. As a board certified cognitive specialist, best selling author, and founder of Hanna Moments Neurodiversity and Empowerment Solutions, she equips parents to move from overwhelm to clarity, helping their children thrive at home, in school, and in life. But her mission doesn't stop there. Vanessa also empowers educators, healthcare providers, and corporate teams to embrace disability inclusion as a strategic advantage, not just a social responsibility. She is also the creator of Shama's Care, a natural hair care, skincare, and aromatherapy line designed for sensitive families like hers. Those online, please help me welcome our guest for tonight, Mrs. Vanesia Bowden.
Hi,
Welcome.
good evening.
Good
Good
evening, Miss
evening.
Bowden. How are you doing tonight?
I am well. I am well. I had a full day, but thank God I'm well.
Awesome.
Yes. And I'm so happy that you're well because you can be on
Yes.
tonight to talk about this special topic here that, some women and men or couples, they go through a lot. Some of them, they feel as though they want to give up because they don't know how to deal with certain characteristics or personality that
Yeah.
these children, would display. And so we want to thank you and also congratulate you for the work that you have been doing because this area needs an expert.
That is true. I want to thank you. It is indeed an area that requires special attention and it requires much help. Persons usually need help to navigate it. It's also a form of parenting that requires more than resilience. While resilience can take you through many things in life, parenting a child with a special need, a disability, or a neurodivergent condition will require you to go beyond resilience. And as parents, um, it is easy for us to put our children ahead of us. Um, it is easy for us to acknowledge their needs ahead of ours, but it requires us to build ourselves so we can be present for them.
That is true. That is so true. So
Yes,
true.
we have to cultivate what I call mental fortitude. We have to get to a place where we learn to function beyond resilience because resilience is for the short haul. Resilience is when you know how to get back up after traumatic events, but you will need you will need fortitude if you need for the long haul for a lifetime. So you have to, as a parent and as parents with children, and this applies to children with a special needs, with a neurodivergent condition, with a disability, and it also applies to parents of children with chronic illnesses. But we are not focusing on that tonight, but I just wanted to say that when we are parenting children, that have a diagnosis, it usually requires more from us as parents, and it requires us to develop ourselves first so that we can be present for ourselves and for our children and by extension our family.
Wow. I haven't listened to you a while ago. You would have called some big names that we really want you to explain, some of these terminologies relating to
Okay,
special needs, neurodiversity, because I am sure, a lot of persons might not know what is neurodiversity. So as an
diversity.
expert,
Okay.
we just want you to give us more understanding in terms of those terms.
All right. When we are talking about neurodiversity, we are talking about acknowledging that every mind is different. Whether you have a diagnosis or not, every mind is different. So when we're talking about neurodiversity, that's what we're talking about, the differences in brain function. When we are talking about a neurodivergent condition, it means that we or our children or whomever has got the diagnosis would have been diagnosed with a condition where there's a neurological difference. When we talk about a neurological difference, we're talking about a difference in our brain. The difference exists in our brain. Sometimes the neurons, which are the small cells in the brain, are not firing the way they should. Sometimes they are not interpreting the way they should. And so when we talk about neurodivergence, we are really talking about having a diagnosis that says our brain functions differently. Not just the regular, everybody's brain is different, but our brain functions differently. So you will have certain things characteristic of certain conditions. For example, someone who has been diagnosed with ADHD, there are some common traits. Inattentive, hyperactive are two common traits of ADHD, and it will manifest in different ways, but it goes back to the brain function. A normal child, well, not normal, a child that does not have such a diagnosis will be able to sit through class with training, but a child with such a diagnosis, if they present as hyperactive, it will be challenging for them to sit through an entire class. They will need sensory breaks so that they can cool off and regroup. So that's when we're talking about neurodivergence. You have some other conditions such as autism. Autism is being diagnosed um, more frequently now. So is ADHD and other conditions. There may be different things to it. My view is that the awareness has increased, and with an awareness, increase in awareness, you have more persons seeking help, which is a good thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have more children with autism. It could simply be an indicator that an increase in awareness has caused an increase in assessment. So we have autism, ADHD, dyslexia. Those are the three most common ones in our sphere. You have other conditions such as Tourette, such as dyscalculia, other conditions, but those three are most prominent. And when we talk about disability, no, a disability can be visible and invisible.
Okay.
Someone, someone, someone can have a neurodivergent condition, or let's talk about ADHD or autism. Someone can be diagnosed with either conditions and they are not disabled, while someone else can be diagnosed with the same conditions and they are disabled. Remember, when we're talking about disability, we're talking about the ability of the individual to interact with their environment. So sometimes it is the environment that causes persons to be disabled because the environment is not made or built in such a way that they can interact with the environment. A typical example is if you go to access public uh, use, for example, if you go to use a public office, whether it be a government institution or a private sector institution, you use a wheelchair and there is no ramp.
Mhm.
The unavailability of a ramp makes you disabled because you're not able to access the facilities based on your current um, presentation. Uh, Whereas if there is a ramp, then you are able to interact with the office. So you would not experience being disabled. So another example is, but you have some persons that are blind, some persons that are deaf. It goes beyond their environment. Persons that may be hard of hearing but not fully deaf can use a hearing aid to improve their hearing so they can interact with the world around them, right? But persons who have no hearing at all, the hearing aid would not assist them. For some persons, they have little vision, almost legally blind, and a glasses. You know, you have some persons who wear glasses and you can see that the lens is very, very thick. It indicates the amount of help they need so that they can interact with their world around them. So when we talk about disability, it is vast, um, and it is so we have to remember some main points. It is visible and invisible. So when we talk about visible disabilities, we are talking about persons that we can look at them and see that they are disabled. So persons using a wheelchair, we can visibly see that they are disabled. Persons using a hearing aid or walking with a cane, we can see that they are disabled. But you have some persons who have autism or ADHD, and you can't see the disability they experience. So, for example, if they want to partake and go to say a theme park, Disney for example, it is highly unlikely that a child with ADHD or autism would have the capacity to stand in the long line, and so they would have had an invisible disability. It's a similar thing when we talk about using the airlines. Um, there is For some airlines, I don't know if it's for all of them, you would have the facility in place where they can apply for the disability, and so they get a tag, so they don't have to stand in the long lines because they don't have the capacity to do so. I wanted to pause right here to emphasize that when we give persons accommodations so they can function in the environment, it is not special treatment. It is empowering them to interact with their environment, because without that accommodation, their ability to interact with the environment would be close to nil, right? So we have certain accommodations, and when we talk about accommodations, we're talking about ways in which we support persons with a disability so that they can interact with their environment. Another thing we can look at is the term special needs. Now, you can have a disability and you don't necessarily have a special need. Having a special needs is like having the need for accommodation. So you have your children and they need extra attention Some of them require a shadow. Some of them require sensory breaks. Some of our children need to take sensory toys with them as a means to help them stay focused and on task. Those are accommodations, and it indicates that those children have some special need. They have special need is a term that not everybody is fond of because we all have needs. It's just that their needs are different. They need teachers and classmates who understand that at certain points they need to take a break. Classic example is for persons with autism. Many persons with autism, they are not able to fully understand social cues. So some of the things that are said within our cultural context, they may not understand it. An understanding classmate or friend would be there to help these children to say, um, this is what it means. And in with continued interaction, they learn certain things. But it is important that our children who grow up to be adults are accommodated within our environment and they are empowered to interact with the world they are in.
Wow. Just shift over a little, Miss Bowden, so that the viewers can see your face a little bit more.
This
Yeah,
time,
yeah. Just shift over a little. Yes, great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You know, this brings back memories. I'm learning at the same time. I'm listening, being empowered, learning, but it also brings back memories because while I was in university, I did my final year project. I had to compile a news package, right? And one of my news stories was it was entitled Students with Special Needs, How They Cope in University, and so on. So you talking about the special needs bit and the neurodiversity and what it means, it's bringing back memories in that I remember interacting with quite a number of students who had special needs and what their challenges were daily, what they had to do and so forth. And what I realized, as you rightfully said, special needs, you know, it's it's that they have an ability, it's a different ability that they have, but they have special needs to cope with what they already have dealing with or to make it easier for them. And I remember at the time I spoke to Tanaika. She was the director, I believe, for the special needs, or she was in charge. She was some president or something, yes, at the time, right, for the special needs department at UWI. And you wouldn't know if you don't look at her because she's visually impaired, but if you don't know based on how she spoke, how she got around and so on, you would even realize that she had the- that disability. And it was so fascinating for me interacting with her. We became friends afterwards, you
nice,
know. And just to understand how important it is for even other persons to, you know, lend a helping hand when you meet
right?
upon someone who is in need of assistance, someone with special needs or someone who is visually impaired and so forth. And you know, it was just a moment for me to look back and say, hey, I want to do this story. I need your story to be out there for persons to know that, hey, though we have special needs or we're visually impaired, we're a community that still operates like anybody else, you know, and we can do whatever challenge or task it is, because I noticed they too they'll take on the challenge more than me. And so
Yes.
whenever there are any challenges, or any, anything they want to get involved in, they do take it on, trust me. And it was just really good. But what I want to find out from you, you spoke about dyslexia and the ADHD and neurodiversity. But what are some of the common misconceptions you encounter about these conditions, and how do you address them?
Okay. We have we have a culture.
Mhm.
In the Caribbean, in Jamaica, we have a culture wherein we don't embrace, not embrace, we don't readily accept a special
Yeah.
needs diagnosis for our children.
That's true.
There is a stigma associated with it. Um, but I want to say straight up, outright now, autism, ADHD, any form of disability, any form of um, special needs is not caused by demons.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people who try to say they're beating demons out of their children, or they're beating the ADHD out of them. Give them some good lick and that will solve the problem. It
Mm-hmm.
won't. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, it can only make it worse. So
Okay.
we have to be mindful of the things we do, and we have to be careful of where we get our information, where we seek advice.
Yeah.
Um, we also have a culture where it is easier. It is a culture I don't understand. Or people prefer to listen to those who don't know than those who do. It's a strange practice,
Yeah.
but it is something that is very prevalent. And every child, every person is unique. If
Yes.
if our children are born with sickle cell, how much of a stigma is that? If as adults we develop high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, how much of a stigma is that? Aren't they all illnesses?
Yes.
Yes.
So the stigma is unnecessary. It is unnecessary, and it does more harm than it does good. And when our children, we have a thing, even a study showed it. When our children are diagnosed, the study was focusing on autism. When children are diagnosed with autism, even when they are in an inclusive class, they are expected to perform above their peers.
Mm. Interesting.
It is the study, it was so eye-opening. I've seen it firsthand, but the study supports it, and that kind of blew me away, because having autism, having ADHD, having any neurodivergent condition, disability, or special needs, sometimes we have persons that are gifted and talented, very gifted, very talented in this community, and sometimes we don't. Not
That's
all
true.
of them will be gifted and talented. Not all of them will play a keyboard very well, or any other musical instrument. Not all of them will
Yeah.
be a great artist. And that's okay. It is okay. We are
Yes.
all individuals. We're all unique, and it is our responsibility to nurture what we have. Um, the story in the Bible that comes home for me is the story with the servants who got their talents from their master. We got a servant who got one talent, one, and we got a servant that got 10 talents. We got a servant that got two talents. And the one that got the one talent went and buried his talent because somehow he felt insufficient and he thought that the master was being unreasonable. But I believe that master already knew that that servant was a lazy one because you got one talent. It's easy to manage one talent compared to the servant that got 10, you know.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
that's so true.
So it is upon us as individuals to nurture what we have.
Yes.
You have a child, the child has a diagnosis. Okay, life goes on. Equip yourself to take care of your child, to nurture your child properly, so that um so that you don't have to answer to God when the Lord said, how did you raise this one? Hmm,
Yes. Yes.
did you do your best? Because
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely believe that parenting is a divine call, and
Yes.
Yeah,
it is not something that we should take lightly.
That's
yes,
true.
It is something that we should treat with the respect it deserves. And when we don't know, we go to the person that know. The very Bible tells us that we ought to go to them that sell. When the five foolish virgins went to the five wise virgins for all, what did the wise virgins say to the foolish virgins? Go to them that sell.
yeah.
So
Yes.
if we have a
Yes.
problem, we ought to go to them
And
that
get help.
sell so that we can get our solution.
Definitely.
You know, it
Awesome.
it
Amen.
is it is important for us as parents.
I
We
like how
have
you
a
put it.
culture
I
where we
really.
think that we can just wing it and do anything. No, it is wise of us to sit at the feet of those who have gone ahead of us and learn what worked and what didn't work. Now, when we learn what worked and what didn't work, we can't apply everything as is to our children because they are different. But we take the principles and we make them
Yes.
applicable to our children, to our family. Because if we have our children and they ought to become, for example, we have a child who is autistic but he's to become an engineer and create a solution for the world. But we don't find out how we can empower and equip this child so that he can become what God created him to be.
Yes.
Who do you think, whose head is that going to fall on?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be held responsible for that?
Sharing.
The parents.
So, and it as parents, our role is it's huge. Sometimes it can become overwhelming, but we just need to take it one day at a time. One day at a time, and we will get there. I wasn't always an expert in neurodiversity. I wasn't always an expert in disability, but I became an expert. I became the solution I needed because, especially in our environment, a lot of the solutions that we seek is not readily available. But we can find the solutions if we're looking.
Definitely. I am going to ask you to stick a ping right there because I have an important question I want
Sure.
to ask you. But before we do that, I just want to shout out a few persons who are online joining us. We have Verena. Verena is always on, she's always listening. Carla is also on, and they're
Nice.
sending greetings, of course. And Carla says Vanesia, sorry, is amazing, right? Jordan's World Forever is also on. And Carla says, absolutely, mental fortitude is required
Yeah.
because, as you rightfully said, we can, you know, be able to deal with this in the now. But for longevity, we'll definitely have to have some mental fortitude. We have to have that mindset, and able to know that we can do this even if it's for a lifetime. We're strong enough mentally to
Yes,
actually deal with what we have to deal with, because I can imagine it's never easy raising a child or nurturing a child with disability. Jordan's World Forever says every mind is different. Some people are quick and some take time.
true.
She also said, or he, sorry, also said that thank God for increasing awareness as it helps to deal with the various issues pertaining to the individual. Carla says, I wish we could invest more in this education being given to teachers and schools created to support them. I agree, Carla. Jordan also says that I know someone with dyslexia and they are smart and very skilled and athletic. Carla
Nice.
says a lot is about adults' ego. It's about how as the parent you support your child to be the best they can be. And we do have Jody Ann Simpson who is on. Indeed, she says, indeed, it is. And Jordan is also on. A very, I believe she meant good presentation. But the question, thank you guys who have responded. If you have any more comments, feel free to go ahead and share your comments.
Miss Bowden, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes,
Okay,
perfect.
because I lost my internet, I think Miss Johnson is having an issue. All right, so we'll just continue until. All right, so we want to thank all the persons who have been tuned in to the talk show. We had some internet issues here, but we will continue. Um, yes, Miss Johnson.
Yes, sorry. I thought Vanesia was hearing me. You weren't hearing me,
I was
Vanesia?
hearing you.
Okay. Yeah, man. Oh, Dr. Lysam, you may have some comments as well you want to go through because we were going through the comments.
Continue, Miss. My internet went down. I
Oh,
apologize.
okay. So I went through those I saw on YouTube.
Okay. All
Yes.
right.
But I
So
was saying that I had a question, a pressing question
go ahead.
I wanted to
Yes.
ask Vanesia. So she ended on the point about parents being held responsible for how they treat and how they nurture their child or children with special needs. But I want to ask you, Mrs. Bowden, many so many parents do feel overwhelmed. They're just getting this diagnosis. They have their child growing. They've passed 1 year old, 2 year old, right? And all of a sudden they're seeing a change. Or when they go back to the doctor for checkup, with the little one, they're not progressing as they ought to at the age that they're at. And so that can become a surprise. It's surprising. It can be overwhelming as well, right? But what are your three top strategies for parents to deal with these diagnoses? How would you encourage them to handle it?
Okay. Um, Firstly, we need to acknowledge that it is a process. We're not going to get to the finish line the same day we start the journey. It's a process, and we have to respect our feelings and our emotions. They are valid. Now, feelings are fickle, and we're not going to make long term decisions based on how we feel. However,
Yes.
our feelings are valid, and we must experience our emotions. We must experience, whether it be happy, sad, we must, whichever side of the spectrum we find ourselves, we must acknowledge those feelings for what they are and experience them, right? And we have to acknowledge that grief, learning that your child has a disability, a neurodivergent condition, a special needs, is not something that you can process overnight. So it doesn't make sense to even try processing it overnight. It's something that you have to process on a daily basis. Because remember, when we get pregnant as women, we have dreams for our children. Some of us have dreams for the children long before we even become with child, which may
Yeah,
be
that is
the case for the fathers as well. When our children are born, we have to mourn that our children are not here to fulfill our dreams, but they are here
yes.
to fulfill God's mandate, right? So our dreams for our children may not be what God had in store. But when we get such a diagnosis, we realize that the realities that they face may be so different from what we envisioned, because no every parent envisions their child being successful, whatever success means for them, right? And they envision them becoming independent by a certain stage, making them proud, going to graduation and collecting awards and those type of things. But when we get such a diagnosis, those things may never be our reality.
That's
And we
so true.
must sit with that disappointment, we must sit with that grief and allow ourselves to experience it and go through the healing process. And even when we get such a diagnosis, some of us will experience the awards. Because I mean, even when my son was graduating, he got his award, and while everybody was in the graduation clapping and jumping and screaming, I sat there and I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I was so happy, you know, to
Yes.
experience such a successful moment. So things will look different. It doesn't mean that we can't experience success. It doesn't mean we can't experience the joy of parenting. It may look different, but we can still have those emotions. So we can't expect to go through the process overnight. It's a process, it will take time. The other thing is that we must seek to find a support system. I provide such a support system as a coach, but um, if you don't want to go the avenue of a coach, whatever support you need to find the support, because it's not something isn't something you do in isolation. And special needs parenting is certainly something you don't do in isolation. It will take a toll on you. So you find support. And the third thing I would encourage persons to do is to make a decision. So the minute you get that special needs diagnosis, you make a decision as to what that diagnosis can mean or will mean for your child and your family. Some persons get the diagnosis and they decide that everything falls apart here. Every, you know, so when the
Yes.
decision is what will drive our actions, we have to make a decision. What will we do? Will we find a way to make this work in our favor? Or will we get up one morning and say the world is cruel to us? The rain falls on the just and the unjust.
Yes,
So,
yes,
so we have to bear that in mind. It doesn't mean that you're worse than anybody else. On a personal level, I think that God gave special needs children to the best parents. I may sound biased, but that's my opinion because I am telling you that it requires more than resilience. It requires grit, it requires fortitude, it requires you transcending your personal beliefs,
The
unlearning and
strength.
relearning, and having that willingness to be mentally agile. So, when you receive that diagnosis, you have to make a decision. Will this be the end, or will you find a way to make it work in your favor? And it can work in your favor. Things will look different. That's okay. That's okay. You know, when our children, for example, I remember when my son was younger, when we would be going to events, a relative of mine was getting married. And I know my son could not sit through the whole event. So I
yes,
decided to go for the second half of the event.
yes,
When the ceremony ended and she was looking around and she didn't see Vanessa, she was like, "Where are you? Where are you?" I'm like, I know my realities. I can't be
yeah,
there all day. So I choose this segment that I can be a part of, and I go and I show up. I drive my own vehicle because when he is frustrated, I'm leaving. So
yes, yes, yes.
your realities may look different. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. It doesn't mean you can't go out. It may be different, and that is entirely okay.
Mrs. Bowden, I just want you to just say to the audience, you made mention to say that you believe that the Lord has given, you know, children who go through special needs situations the best parents. I just want you to just repeat that again and just let persons out there know that you were chosen, you are the best person to deal with such, situation. Yes.
Yes, it is my personal belief. I believe that God gave special needs children to the best parents because a parent who has not decided to go all out cannot raise a special needs child properly, you know. And when I say properly, I mean to give the right stimulation, to look out for the child, to find solutions, to not give up. And that's a big one. You know, many times we'll have parents, they give up so quickly. But for when you check special needs parents, it's rare to find a parent that readily gives up. We find a way to make it work. So if you have a special needs child today, I want to encourage you that you're chosen. It is not something that you should take lightly. God has given you a blessing in disguise. And I want to remind you that being a special needs parent makes you a better person, makes you a better person. Being a special needs mom has made me a better person and a better mother to all my children, not just my special needs child. So I want to encourage you. Yes, some days will be challenging, and that's fine. Every day won't be the same. That's okay. You were chosen for this, you know. And yes, you feel sad because you have to go through the grieving process. Things look different for you. That is okay. Go through your process, but make a decision to make this diagnosis work in your favor and in your family's favor.
That is very powerful, Mrs. Bowden. And when someone has gone through a situation, they can share the story in a more impactful way. And I'm so happy that, you didn't just sit there and, not decide to do anything with the knowledge that you would have gained over the years. And I must say to you that you are a special mom. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because it takes no ordinary person, to be able to take care of a child with special needs. And indeed, I believe that such a one has been chosen by God. And we also want to thank you for sharing your stories in the form of a book. We thank you so much for doing that. The name of our book is Embracing Possibilities, Nurturing Children with Special Needs. So you can buy Miss Vanesia Bowden's book. It is impactful, it's powerful, it's filled with a lot of knowledge, information, principles, that you can use. She has shared her story, and you can use those to make your journey a bit smoother. Okay? You want to just go ahead and just share with us, two principles from your book.
Okay. As I said, I talk about mental fortitude a lot, and it's the first principle I shared in my book, because the truth is, um, mental fortitude is the single most important skill you can cultivate, or habit you can cultivate as a special needs parent. It is what will take you through even the skills acquisition process, because as a parent you have to learn to be an advocate. If you have not developed that fortitude, you will feel like advocacy is a burden. But you have to speak up.
Yes.
You have to speak up.
Yes.
You, especially if your child is nonverbal, you have to speak up. There is no way to go around it. You have to cultivate mental fortitude, and you must become an advocate for your child.
Okay. So I want to encourage those persons who are in the audience listening to this impactful story. You can get Miss Vanessa Bowen's book on Amazon. You can also access the Kindle version. So just go to Amazon, make sure that you purchase her book. The title is Embracing Possibilities, Nurturing Children with Special Needs, and ensure that after you would have read this book, you leave a review. Okay? So again, we
Amen.
want to thank you, Ms. Vanessa, for really sharing, these principles in the form of a book, and also just tell us a little bit about your business. And I see Miss Johnson, she has a question for you. But just tell us a little bit about your role as an entrepreneur, Hannah's Moment.
All right. Hannah Moment seeks to promote awareness and advocate for inclusion. So we promote awareness of neurodivergence, disability, and special needs, and we advocate for inclusion. We do that in various ways. One, by training. So we offer training to teachers, to corporate, to healthcare providers, so that they are more knowledgeable and they would have acquired the skill to interact with special needs customers, students, patients. Another way we do that is in parent coaching. I empower parents to equip their children to succeed in school and in life. So it's not just I give them techniques and strategies to help their children to do well in school, to help them to develop life skills, right? And I do that through educational resources, you know. So my book is one of them. You will also find information on my website, hannahmoments.com. Very informative website. You can get a lot of information there. So those are the main ways in which I do that. I also do speaking engagements where I teach persons about autism, about special needs, about ADHD, dyslexia, and so on. So those are the main ways in which I serve with Hanna Moments. And being a pharmacist, a teacher and trainer, a board certified cognitive specialist, and a mom, it gives me a holistic view so I can help you through all those perspectives through health, education, and coaching.
And so you have been you have been the first disability pharmacist, and
Yes,
congratulations in
thank you.
Jamaica, or is it in the Caribbean?
In the Caribbean, I focus a lot on disability inclusive practices. I've also done some training so that our healthcare facilities can be more inclusive. You know, I've even experienced it where our healthcare facility is not able to accommodate um, a person with a special need. And
Okay.
as a healthcare facility, if you don't get that anywhere else, you're expecting to get it at a healthcare facility.
Okay. And that is very good that you have extended yourself, to assist, and you are a certified pharmacist.
Yes, I
So
am.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Miss Johnson, seem like we're at a class at one of those universities. Miss
Right.
Bowden,
There's
a lot to
so much.
learn.
Yes, a
Yes,
lot to learn. And so
yes,
much that Mrs. Bowden has offered. So much so we have a few persons in the comments who want to I want to share their comments. So Jordan's World Forever says, "Whoa, you are so calm and understanding, Mrs. Bowden." And I believe that, of course, it would be a requirement, when
yes,
dealing with special needs, because if you're frustrated and impatient, it will be even be harder to deal with children or a child with special needs. And you don't want to I don't believe you want to be a parent who is frustrated and having to deal with a child with special needs, because in the long run we're all humans, right? And in the
Right.
long run you may end up hurting your child because you're so frustrated, right? Carla says, acknowledge the existence of special needs when you, as a family, if you've given a diagnosis, acknowledge the existence, educate yourself, and resolve to do what is required, right? Um, Yet she says, yes, we find a way all the time to figure it out. Powerful words of encouragement. Keep the comments coming. And lastly, she says, what a star you are, Vanesia. Great job.
Thank you.
Definitely.
you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank
And I
you.
think that on this special, not saying that yours in terms of special needs or so on, but is only a talented person in that area. As you rightly said, that you have been chosen, and
Yes.
because you have been chosen, then the Lord has placed you in this position where you can offer hope to a lot of parents who are struggling.
Mm,
Sometimes, in terms of stigmatism, in terms of not knowing how to deal with a situation, of such nature, it can cause the parents to become, very frustrated and not knowing what to do. But there is another thing that I've been thinking, Vanessa, is that sometimes some of the parents can't bother to go through the process, and that's the reason why um, they would go and get alternative, instructions as to how to deal with this matter. What do you have to say about that? Because the process
Uh,
can be, right?
all right. Let me say it this way. Whichever avenue you choose to take, there will be a process.
Yes.
Hmm. There will be a process. So, in my mind, why not do it the right way?
Yes, yes, yes.
There is no shortcut to it. There will be a process, whichever way. And if you try to take a shortcut, many times you end up having taking the longer route, inflicting more hurt or more trauma. So we ought to be mindful that our actions have consequences.
That
Yes,
is
and I
so
think
true.
you end up losing instead of gaining because more spending, more work to be
Yes.
done, and so on.
Right.
So you ending up going through two processes instead of one.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is so true.
Yes. So as a disability inclusive pharmacy, how do you bridge the gap between traditional pharmacy services and the neurodiversity support? How do you do that?
Well, for one, I serve as a disability inclusive pharmacist, so the way I approach my job is different.
Okay.
And so that's for one. The other, so when I'm working as a pharmacist, it dictates my practices, how I practice. I communicate differently. The way in which I fill prescriptions, I interact with my patients. It is I do it in such a way that anybody can understand, grasp it, basic, simple. So whether you have a disability or not, you're able to benefit from that. I want to just say this, that when it comes to special needs or disability inclusive services, if our businesses or services take on that disability inclusive perspective, it reaches everybody and it
Okay.
has more impact. We can a prime example is when we look into special education. Special education is broken down in such a way that even children without a special needs do better when special education practices are used.
Okay. That's excellent.
So so it is a similar thing in healthcare.
Okay.
We go back to the basics and the foundation to ensure that healthcare is delivered in a manner that is respectful and that we can all benefit from. And the second way in which I approach being a disability inclusive pharmacist is to train other healthcare providers to provide such services. So I would do talks, um, I would do training so that other healthcare providers can reach special needs or disabled patients.
Thank you so much. Trust me, you have been empowering and impacting us, Mrs. Bowden. It's a lot to take in, a lot to learn, and I'm just so caught up in it because I think it's a well needed topic to discuss for persons who or families who are dealing with special needs and they're nurturing their child or children with special needs, and it's something that we ought to talk about more, and that society needs to look differently on on how we treat or deal with people with special needs, children with special needs, and to cater more to their needs. But I want to turn a little to your personal experience, right? Can you share how that experience has shaped your professional mission and the creation of Hannah moments?
Okay. Growing up, I've always had an interest in health and education. I eventually chose health, so I became a pharmacist, a registered pharmacist first. However, I've been teaching since I was in high school, doing summer classes, Sunday school, VBS, tutoring, and so on. And it continues today. So education is something that, though it was done after, it's something that I've always been doing. Hannah Moment started with uh, what I believe is a directive from God to start writing. I didn't know, and at the time I started a blog and I just started writing. And sometime after I started writing and sharing on the blog, I felt the need that I should niche, but I wasn't sure in what direction. And with time, I was directed again by God to share my story. And that is how this all got started, just out of obedience. It's not something that I planned, it's something that I just said yes to God, and it has landed me here.
Yes.
Awesome. So out of obedience
And
came
we are so happy
Hannah
that you were
moment.
obedient to the Lord in yes, we're so
Praise
happy.
God.
We're having a bit of internet challenges here. It has been down in the area and it's really unstable, but we're still going to fight through. So we want to thank Mrs. Vanesia Bowden, um, the first Caribbean woman to become a disability inclusive pharmacist. And she is the owner and founder of Anna Moments. And she has written a book. She is an author, a speaker, and also a trainer. You are hearing her story not because she would have listened to somebody else's story. You are hearing her story because she has gone through the experience. And I want to say that for those persons who are on, there is still hope. You can get help and support from Mrs. Bowden. So don't be reluctant to getting the support because I believe, as she said, she has answered the call and the Lord has, allowed her to go through what she has gone through. God has selected her, as that parent who has the capacity because sometimes we lack the capacity, to deal with certain situations. And so we want to thank you, Mrs. Bowden, that you did not give up because you could have given up many times. You did not give up. And because of
Amen.
that, you have lived long enough to show the world that, hey, a student or a child that is encountering some form of neurodiversity. That's I'm learning the term, As I said before, that I feel as though I'm sitting in at a university class because there's so much. When I was in college, and my roommate was a special needs student, and
Mm.
they learned differently from how I would have learned, to deal with students. They did so much things different from us. They were special in nature, not special need, but special in nature. As to how to, and they are very creative, right? Because she was my roommate, and I don't know if she's on listening now, but she was very creative. because you have to have some level of creativity to help these students, right?
Yes,
Or develop certain,
yes.
creativity, because as
And
they
they are
go,
creative as well.
yes, yes, they are creative. And the ministry says every child can learn and every child must learn.
Learn, right.
Sense is very important. So we want to lift our hats to all those teachers out there who are in the special needs unit within primary schools and high schools. We want to thank you for, supporting our children. Students who have special needs, they are purposed by God. And they were given the one-way ticket, like what I spoke about last week, to go through the gates of the womb and to be here on earth. And so they too
Amen.
have a purpose. They too
Amen.
have a purpose and they too have a say. So they have
Yes,
rights,
yes.
right? So we want
Mm.
everybody to understand that and not to stereotype, because they have a purpose and they can solve situations that the world is fighting to solve. Even though we would have called ourselves normal people, right? Let us not stigmatize to say that they are abnormal and we are normal. No, you spoke about you know um internal disability. Is there real
Invisible.
or invisible?
Invisible. Invisible
Yes.
disability in the sense that you cannot see that the person has a disability, but in fact they do.
So how would you
The
diagnose?
example I shared was, for example, uh, someone who is autistic. Many times, persons that are autistic, especially if they are high functioning meaning they're able to go to a regular school, but they still need support. They they would need help to do specific tasks or to interact with the environment. So they would be disabled because the environment is not set up in a way to support them, but you cannot look at them and see that they are disabled the way you can look at someone who uses a wheelchair and see that they are disabled.
And as a teacher, practicing teacher at the college level, I have come across students who I know that there is something with them in terms of disability. I remember this student. She was a beautiful girl, beautiful, beautiful. Just looking on her, you would never know, but interacting with her, you would have recognized that she is struggling with that situation. And her parents supported her well. Her parents supported her
Nice.
well. But getting used to the environment, it was a challenge until a group of us as lecturers recognized that she was struggling with it, and we showed her love. And we told her that, listen, you can carry out any practical that you needed to carry out in the area of food and nutrition. And this young lady, she developed over time, even though we were not trained in the area, just showing her love helped her, to boom and to show that, she was able to complete whatever task. It was a real challenge at the beginning. And we decided that, her parents decided that she must come to college. The guidance counselor though shared and got some help for her, and let the parents know that she is encountering some disabled situation. At first they did not accept it, and it was visible. Not just seeing her, you would not have known it, but interacting with her, it was visible, right? So
Yes,
love and respect and showing care per se
both
in
are
her.
far away.
Yes, yes. And she's overseas now.
Nice.
So we might not have had the resources, but her family, was able. She completed college and she went overseas. I haven't heard
Oh,
anything about her since then, but she was able to complete, and she is in a first world country that caters more for them.
nice. So she should have more resources at hand.
Yes, 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 yes. Miss Johnson?
Yes, Dr. Lysab. So, I just want to say, I don't think I have any more questions, but just looking at the topic and what we've been discussing so far, how important it is. I mentioned earlier that it's very important that we do talk more about disabilities and nurturing children with disabilities, because it's already somewhat challenging to deal with the disability. So if the public is made aware, spreading more awareness and the importance of what it means for us as individuals to deal with children or families to deal with their child or children with disabilities, then I believe it will allow society to be more inclusive and allow them to feel as though they have a place in society. Because oftentimes, when you do talk to some of these children, especially the bigger ones, they might be, you know, in their shells, or as we'd say, they're in their shells, as Jamaicans would say. But we really mean that they may seem antisocial, and it's because they probably don't feel like they belong. But if we can allow them to feel as though they belong, then they'll be able to rise above what they're going through and to execute, to live out their God given purpose. As I said earlier, for those who were on earlier, that it brings back memories because I did a feature on this area when I was in university, and I remembered this young man who he had a shadow with him. So, and a shadow, for those who are wondering, a shadow is someone who would be around him throughout the day. The person would bring him to class from time to time, assist him to get around the school campus. And so when he was getting around and so on, I spoke to him, assisted when I could, and so forth. I even started talking to his shadow, and we somewhat developed a friendship, checked on him and so forth, because you know it's never easy, and there are times we do have people who can be unkind in this world.
True.
And
Too
so
true.
yes, and so we have to look out for them, look out for those children with special needs. And I believe his university life, based on his experience and so forth, it was very much different. It felt, you could almost see that he felt as though, yes, he can do other things like other people, you know
Beautiful.
and he was enjoying university life, and he
Nice. That's
went
very
through.
Okay.
nice.
So I just want to say, those who are online, whether you have a child with special needs, or you know someone who has a child with special needs, or you know a child with special needs, allow them to feel as though they are a part of society. They are not an outcast. They're not weird, you know, but allow them to feel as though they are welcome. Their environment is safe, and they will thrive, because that's what they need: the support, the love, the guidance, in order to feel better within themselves or look beyond what they're going through. Because when they can look their circumstances and develop a mindset that it's not a setback, it's not a holdback, but they'll use that positivity to push forward. And oftentimes we see people who have special needs, when they're supported, they come out on top. They come out
That is
on top.
true.
They are they become well known for developing something and so forth. So when we are able to support them, then we can definitely see how much they will blossom and what they'll blossom into.
Okay,
So
thank
over
you.
to you.
So true.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Johnson. And we want to thank Mrs. Vanesia Bowden for joining tonight.
Yes.
And I'm just asking you just conclude in 1 minute, Mrs. Vanesia Bowden, about the topic and about your services.
All right. So, if you're a parent who has a child with a diagnosis and you need support, you can contact me. I will provide needed support. If you have any questions, you can follow me on my socials and you can just send a DM and I will help you where I can. Um, I provide these services to support families so that we can, as a community, we can move from surviving to thriving. We can live full and rich lives, right? If you are a business and you believe that you can tap into um, more income by providing a disability inclusive customer service, let's talk. But in all you do, remember, treat everyone with kindness. We're all here and we are all deserving of love and respect. And we're all in the same society and we need to interact with each other in a respectful and kind way. Have a blessed night.
Okay. So we want to thank you, Miss Vanessa Bowden, for sharing tonight with us. I know that you have a lot to do. You're an entrepreneur, you're a pharmacist. We congratulate you for being the first disability inclusive pharmacist, and you're doing a great job. And we encourage you to continue to help others, to take them through their situation in regards to parents having to deal with special needs children. We know that it's not easy, but I believe that the Lord has carved you out for this role. And so He will continue to provide you with strength, support, and knowledge so that you can help others to thrive in the area that they need to thrive. We want to
Thank
thank our
you.
special audience for tuning in tonight. I see where the chat was blowing up. A lot of persons, seemingly you like the topic. You can share with us if you have a special topic that you would want us to bring on one Tuesday night. We'll find the experts. We have a lot of experts that we can find for any topic. So if there is a topic that you would want us to explore, and to get an expert to speak to it, then you can reach out to us. We want to thank you for staying with us, and we want to thank you for always being our guest, our audience. For those persons on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, thank you again for joining. And we must say to you, continue to encourage others to tune in every Tuesday so that they can learn more about empowering her to succeed. Until next week, take care of yourselves, drive safely on the road, and remember when you get up in the morning, just breathe a word of prayer because we have to depend on the Lord's grace to carry us through. Thank you again and see you all next week. God bless you.
She's rising up, heart full of grace, With every step, she's paving the way. Through every storm, she finds a light. With faith in her soul, she's ready to fight. From the pain, she finds a power, turning trials into golden hours. Challenges don't stand a chance. She's on a mission, taking a stand. Empower her to succeed. Fuel her fire, plant the seed. Let her overcome, let her lead. She's the potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. And this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. She's a doer too, breaking ceilings, breaking through. With every voice that lifts her name, together we rise, we shift again. She's more than enough, she's made to rise above. When the world says no, she answers with love. The potential the world needs. With love, with faith, with every breath she takes. A transformative story is what we make. But this is her life, this is her creed. Empower her to succeed. With Kereisia and Shanea, hear her rise. This is where challenges